Harutora Tsuchimikado dreamt about his past. As a child, he promised to be a servant and protector of a girl named Natsume Tsuchimikado. They also promised each other. Harutora woke up in class and had to listen to the teacher's chatter about shamanism in front of the class. It turned out that shamanism had become official and been made into a national matter. They were tasked with dealing with supernatural things that endangered society. In the afternoon, Harutora and his close friend Tuji Eito were walking home. Not long after, a girl named Hokuto came to meet them. The girl asked whether Harutora wanted to become a shaman or not. But it turned out that Harutora had no intention of becoming a shaman. The three of them then sat relaxed on a wooden bench while eating shaved ice. Hokuto said that as a Tsuchimikado, Harutora should become a shaman. But Harutora instead explained the broad concept of the Tsuchimikado family. He did not come from a main family. He was raised in the branch family of Tsuchimikado. There was a girl from the main family who would become the leader of the Tsuchimikado family. Since there was already someone doing such important things, Harutora wasn't interested in becoming a shaman. After the conversation, they went home. While walking alone, Harutora met Natsume Tsuchimikado, who would become the leader of the Tsuchimikado family. They were awkward because they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Natsume wanted Harutora to help her with her family regarding shamanism, but Natsume didn't want to be honest with him. After chatting for a long time, Natsume sulked and said that she would take care of everything herself. The next day, Harutora played with Tuji. He discussed what happened with Natsume yesterday. Harutora said that he didn't want to become a shaman. Moreover, he also didn't have spirit sight, which was to see spirit energy. While they were chatting, there was news on TV about the actions of the 12 Holy Generals, the most famous shamans group in Japan. That night, the two of them went to the night market. There they met Hokuto, who was wearing a yukata. They wandered here and there while having fun. Hokuto asked Harutora to play target shooting. She wanted to get the gift box, which was one of the targets displayed. To encourage Harutora, Hokuto said she would kiss Harutora so he could get the gift. Because he was nervous, Harutora managed to shoot the target instead. Hokuto felt very happy and she took the gift. It turned out she just wanted to get the ribbon in the gift box. She used the ribbon as a hair tie. The girl also pretended to forget what she had said to Harutora before. After that, they went to the place where they placed their wishes. When Harutora saw Hokuto's request, he was even annoyed that Hokuto had begged Harutora to become a shaman. Kurito was sad because Harutora didn't like her request. She went straight from there. When Tuji and Harutora were alone, a girl suddenly appeared. She was Suzuka Darenji, one of the 12 Holy Generals. She wanted Tsuchimikado to be her experiment, but Harutora didn't care about things like that. That was when the shaman supervisor officers arrived and surrounded Suzuka. It turned out that the girl had carried out a forbidden ritual and had to be arrested. Suzuka summoned a guardian creature and then committed mass slaughter. He captured Harutora after he finished slaughtering many people. Suzuka said that Harutora should tell Natsume that one day he would catch her. Not long afterwards, Hokuto returned and was shocked by what was happening. Suzuka then left Harutora. After Suzuka left, Hokuto felt annoyed with Harutora because he didn't run after her. Harutora tried to explain the circumstances that occurred, but Hokuto didn't want to hear it. She ran away from Harutora. The next day in class, Tuji told Harutora something. After doing research, Suzuka would perform the Taizen Fukan ritual, which was created by a legendary shaman, namely Yaku Tsuchimikado. With this ritual, someone could summon dead souls. Harutora guessed that Suzuka planned to summon the soul of someone who had died. In the past, Yaku used this ritual to continuously reincarnate. He felt that his shamanic knowledge could develop if he continued reincarnating. Currently, Yaku's reincarnation was Natsume. In the evening, Natsume invited Harutora to hang out at the cafe. They discussed about Suzuka. According to Natsume, Suzuka would come to the back of her house because there was an altar where the Taizen Fukan ritual could be held. Because of that, Natsume had to guard the altar. Harutora also wanted to help protect the altar. It wasn't long before Harutora appeared to be in pain. A wasp-shaped summoned spirit emerged from Harutora's mouth. The wasp flew and stung Natsume's neck. Instantly, Natsume's power disappeared. After successfully sucking her power, the wasp then disappeared. Harutora knew that Suzuka had implanted the wasp in his stomach yesterday. Harutora hurried to call a taxi and took the pained Natsume home. On the way, magic explosions were created around the taxi. Harutora went outside. He asked the driver to take Natsume to her house. Then Harutora went sneaking around and saw what was happening. It turned out that there were troops from the shaman department who were surrounding Suzuka. She was pressed and couldn't escape. Until finally she summoned a steel tarantula creature. A giant spider robot appeared and destroyed the shaman department's troops formation. Everything was completely destroyed. After that, Harutora appeared and he asked what Suzuka's purpose was in sucking Natsume's power. It turned out that Suzuka was trying to revive her brother. In exchange for the ritual, Suzuka would lose her own life. After that, Suzuka started attacking Harutora. The steel tarantula went berserk and targeted Harutora. But when Harutora almost got stabbed, Hokuto appeared and blocked the steel tarantula's stab with her body. Her body was hollow, but she cast a magic spell on the iron tarantula's body and managed to destroy it. Hokuto's body immediately collapsed but was immediately caught by Harutora. Hokuto wanted to apologize for hiding her identity all this time. At that moment, Hokuto's body melted and nothing remained. Harutora could see the spell paper used to summon Shikigami. It turned out that Hokuto was a fox spirit all along. Harutora was shocked by the incident. He walked around in a daze while reminiscing about Hokuto. He first saw Hokuto when he was still in middle school. Hokuto always followed him wherever he went. Finally, they met and became close. A while later, Harutora went to meet Natsume at her house. Natsume's strength had recovered a little. That was when Harutora said that he wanted to be her servant. Natsume performed the ritual and created a star mark on Harutora's cheek. Instantly, Harutora could see supernatural creatures. After that, Natsume and Harutora rode a magical horse that could fly towards where the ritual altar was located. There, Suzuka was ready to start the ritual. Natsume and Harutora couldn't do much because the steel tarantula created a protective shield that was difficult to penetrate. After that, Suzuka summoned another spirit. When the creature attacked, Harutora used his sword to deflect the attack. But unfortunately, the attacks continued to come without stopping. Harutora fell off the flying horse. Seeing that, Natsume summoned another Shikigami in the form of a golden dragon. The golden dragon saved Harutora. After Harutora returned to the flying horse, the golden dragon dueled against Suzuka's summoned spirit. While the two Shikigami fought, Harutora and Natsume planned an attack on the steel tarantula. With the help of Natsume's power, Harutora turned even fiercer. Harutora advanced and attacked the steel tarantula. With many slashes of Harutora's sword, he was finally able to pry open the tarantula's steel shell. The spell paper was visible and Natsume immediately launched an arrow that destroyed the spell paper. After Suzuka's Shikigami was defeated, she created thousands of spell papers and scattered them in all directions. Natsume and Harutora were trapped between the spell papers. At the same time, Suzuka had finished carrying out the ritual. Her brother's body rose again, but at that moment, he strangled her instead. On the other hand, Harutora got up and broke through all the spell paper. He used the burning spell paper to get rid of all the other spell papers. Harutora ran towards Suzuka's brother and touched him. Immediately, magic light radiated from his body. Harutora used his sword to slash at the light, but his efforts were in vain. Not long after, Natsume got up. With 5 spells papers, she created a star pattern in the sky. A portal was seen opening and immediately sucking in Suzuka's brother's soul. Natsume warned Harutora not to look up or his soul would be sucked in too. Not long after the process was completed, Suzuka's ritual was successfully thwarted. After that, Harutora showed Hokuto's talisman paper. He asked whether Natsume could fix it or not, but the power in the talisman had already run out. However, Natsume said that Hokuto was just an intermediary. Shikigami in the form of a girl only conveyed what the summoner said. That meant Harutora could meet whoever was behind Hokuto's figure someday. The next day, Harutora chatted with Tuji and explained everything. But how surprising it was that Tuji didn't seem too surprised. After that, Harutora said he would transfer to Tokyo and enter his shaman school. They then separated. Harutora and Natsume went to Tokyo. Harutora was confused about why Natsume was wearing boy clothes. It turned out that it was a tradition for the girls in the Tsuchimikado family to look like the boys of the academy. Nobody at the academy knew that Natsume was a girl. Meanwhile, it seemed that Tuji also moved to Tokyo. Tuji said that all this time he could see spirits. He could also tell which humans were and which Shikigami were. Hearing this, Natsume immediately became nervous. Natsume then immediately left them. That was when Harutora realized something. The ribbon that Natsume was wearing was similar to the ribbon that Hokuto wore at the night market some time ago. The next day, Harutora and Tuji went to the shaman school called Onyu Academy. They were asked to go to the school principal. The principal was an old lady named Mio Kurahashi. Principal Mio called Harutora and Tuji as Kakujuki and Hishimaru. Principal Mio asked them what they thought about Yaku. Tuji said that Yaku was a great shaman. However, because of his actions, a shocking incident occurred in Japan. Principal Mio said that Yaku was like an ordinary human. His hobby was playing chess, but he often lost. He felt burdened by all the expectations placed on him by his devotees. Not long after, the stump-legged man appeared. His name was Jino Tomo. It turned out he was Harutora and Tuji's homeroom teacher. After that, they went to class. On the way, Harutora asked Mr. Jin why Principal Mio called him and Tuji as Kakujuki and Hishimaru. Mr. Jin said that those two people were Yaku's most loyal servants. Apart from that, both of them were also powerful shamans. They arrived at the classroom where Natsume was waving at them. After the introduction, a girl named Kyuko Kurahashi protested why two new students were able to enter after the change of semester. She thought they were able to enter because they were related to the Tsuchimikado family. Natsume didn't accept it, and she got into an argument with Kyuko, who was the granddaughter of school principal Mio. However, instead of breaking it off, Mr. Jin was engrossed in watching the two girls fight. Finally, it wasn't long before he separated them and asked the two new students to sit down. Harutora checked the talisman paper given by his father, Takahiro Tsuchimikado. Not long after, a female Shikigami named Kan appeared from the talisman paper. It turned out that Kan had been protecting Harutora's family for a long time, and now it was her turn to protect Harutora. The next day in class, Hyuko got into an argument with Harutora. Kan immediately appeared and threatened Kyuko. Not long after, Kyuko also summoned two Shikigami who were ready to protect her. Seeing this, Mr. Jin suggested a duel between the servants. After that, they went to the arena. Harutora was already using protective clothing to fight. He asked Kan to fight the white Shikigami. Meanwhile, he would fight the black Shikigami. Kan protested that it was a match between servants, but Harutora said that he was also a servant. The duel began. After trying to fight as hard as he could, Harutora was defeated. But the next day, Harutora became popular because he dared to fight against Kyuko. After that, Kyuko invited Harutora to chat together. Kyuko apologized for yesterday's incident because she was just trying to get close to Natsume. When they were little, they had met occasionally, but Natsume forgot about Kyuko. This made Kyuko sad because when they met, they had made a promise. After that, they chatted. Not long after, Natsume came. A few moments after, Natsume came to a magic attack. A thick black mist enveloped the surrounding area. Then someone kidnapped Natsume. Toji and a student named Tenma Momo arrived. Tenma gave the magic wand to Harutora. They rushed to look for Natsume. It turned out that the person who kidnapped Natsume was a Yaku cultist. He didn't want Yaku's incarnation to be close to other people. Not long after, Harutora and his gang arrived. The kidnapper summoned a Shikigami in the form of a giant monster. A big fight ensued. After fighting in a gang, Harutora managed to beat the enemy Shikigami's mask to pieces. Because the mask was a means of control for the kidnapper, when the mask broke, the Shikigami went berserk. Harutora jumped in and saved Natsume from the Shikigami's attack. He freed Natsume from the spell papers. After that, Natsume summoned a golden dragon. With one blow, the golden dragon managed to finish off the opposing Shikigami. Unfortunately, the kidnapper had already escaped. The dorm mothers Meko Fujino and Eiko Kifu saw Harutora and Shikigami who looked like Natsume. They misunderstood and spread gossip throughout the school. Strange rumors began to circulate about Harutora and Natsume. Once Harutora planned to go shopping on his day off, but because Tuji suggested Harutora go along, this made Natsume happy because she considered this a date with Harutora. The next day, while looking for clothes in a clothing store, the two of them got lost. They instead stayed at a love hotel to avoid their dorm mother who was chasing them. While the two were chatting casually, Kan appeared and told them that Kyuko was also looking for them. Even Shikigami Tenma also came looking for them. Natsume thought that she could handle Shikigami, but it turned out that Mr. Jin was also searching. The opportunity to fight the Shikigami was lost because Mr. Jin also came along. Harutora calls Tuji for help. The two of them were able to escape thanks to Tuji. In the afternoon, Mr. Jin managed to find and capture the Yaku cultists who kidnapped Natsume earlier. Principal Mio also appeared using her Shikigami, which was a cat. She also confirmed the Yaku cult's relationship with the Super Kyukai Syndicate or Twin Horn Syndicate. Not long after that, Duminashia discussed with the man about the Yaku cult. The man stated that he did not want to get involved with the Twin Horn Syndicate conflict, but he also seemed interested in the Tsuchimikado branch family's son, Harutora. As he was about to leave, it was slowly revealed that one of his arms was missing, and that person was the real Kakujuki. Sometime later, Mr. Jin met Daisen Amami to discuss about the Twin Horn Syndicate, which was starting to take action. A man named Hatsune Hirata from the Shaman department also appeared. They discussed a person named Chihiro Muto who started moving under Twin Horn's orders. Meanwhile, Harutora and the others were practicing shamanic knowledge. Secretly, Chihiro watched them from a distance. Not long after, he took action. He spawned monsters called Nu in various places and caused chaos everywhere. At the same time, Tuji seemed to be in pain and collapse. One Nu also appeared there and spread terror. The fight began against one of the rampaging New. One of the 12 holy generals, Reiji Kagami, appeared. He easily defeated the monster. After that, he even approached Tuji, who looked in pain. Reiji noticed that there was something strange about Tuji. On the other hand, Chihiro took advantage of the situation and took New away from the surrounding area. Meanwhile, Reiji pulled Toji's head. When he opened Tuji's headband, it turned out that two small horns were starting to appear. Reiji revealed that Tuji was a devil. In the future, Tuji would become a complete demon and must be eradicated. That was when the man named Zenjiro Kogura appeared. He scolded Reiji for letting New escape. They immediately went to solve the problem. Meanwhile, Tuji, who fainted, was immediately taken to the hospital. Sometime later, everyone still didn't believe that Tuji was a devil. In the future, if Tuji turned into a complete devil, Harutora and his friends would be forced to finish him off. Not long after that, at night, Tuji, who had regained consciousness, ran away. Harutora then went to look for where his friend had gone. On the other hand, Natsume and Kyuko meet Zenjiro, the independent shaman. They told what happened. Monsters appear and can cause disaster. Because of that, Zenjiro wanted to ask the two girls for help in guiding the monster to the specified point. On the other hand, Tuji walked around the city in a daze. He began to doubt himself as a devil. Harutora was running here and there far behind him. In his haste, Harutora bumped into a group of men. They almost fought, but a man came and drove the thugs away. Harutora thanked him, but the man suddenly left. Elsewhere, Zenjiro and the others had gathered in the park. Using her golden dragon, Natsu was able to lure New towards them. As soon as New arrived, they immediately took action and carried out a massacre. A man named Iwo Miyachi stepped forward and fought alone against New and slaughtered them all. Meanwhile, Harutora came to Tuji and asked him to come back, but Tuji ended up doubting himself. He attacked Harutora, so a fight broke out. Tuji transformed into a demon and massacred Harutora. Meanwhile, Natsume and the others were shocked to see Tuji, who had become stronger and more terrifying. They started going topsy-turvy to face Tuji. In one corner, Shigeru used his spell paper. New, who was there, changed into a very strong chimera. While Tuji was taken to the hospital, Natsume, the professional shaman, tried to destroy all New who had been lured. Unfortunately, during the process, one of the News managed to escape. Zenjiro and Natsume rushed after it on motorbikes. On the way, they met Harutora, who had just returned after taking Tuji to the hospital. Not long after, Chihiro appeared and confronted them. Zenjiro stepped forward and blocked him. Meanwhile, Natsume and Harutora continued their journey to chase New. On the other hand, Tuji, who had fainted, finally woke up. He met Principal Mio. It turned out that his demonic power had been suppressed and could not be controlled. Principal Mio informed that Harutora was running after New. Tuji didn't want to relax and he started to get up. He was lent a flying horse to gallop into battle. Tenma then came and gave him a magic wand. Tuji dashed forward after all the preparations were complete. Far ahead, Harutora rode a golden horse and fought the rampaging New. It wasn't long before Tuji got there. He immediately launched his attack using his wand. With one attack, New was overthrown. Seeing their actions, Reiji became even more nervous. He wanted to immediately capture Tuji and absorb his power. It turned out he had the power to absorb demons and make them his power. But Mr. Jin came and warned him. Reiji must not touch his students at all. Meanwhile, Harutora and the others were met by a mysterious man who was in the passenger seat of the car. The man's name was Duman Ashia. He was the leader of the gang that did the trouble. After that, he walked away. On the other hand, Chihiro went into a dark room. There he performed rituals to the gods of the underground and death. The ritual was complete and something surprising would soon happen. 1 month after the spiritual disaster caused by the Twin Horn Syndicate, the ceremony to accept new students at the Onmu Shaman School was held. Surprisingly, Suzuka Darenji was among the new students. The girl saw Harutora and clearly said that Harutora had already had her first kiss. Everyone immediately became excited because of Suzuka's confession. Harutora immediately received a lot of questions from other students. On the other hand, Zenjiro told Mr. Jin that the Shaman Department enrolled Suzuka in the Onmu Academy as punishment for the incident caused last year. Mr. Jin stated that the academy would take care of Suzuka for her re-education. Meanwhile, Natsume was worried because Suzuka saw her dress as a woman in the incident last year. Because of this, she didn't want her disguise as a boy to be exposed and continued to hide herself from Suzuka. While searching for Suzuka, Harutora met an unusual senior year student. The student seemed interested in Khan and kept asking about the girl. But luckily, the third-year student left immediately and didn't cause much trouble. In the afternoon, Suzuka revealed to Harutora that the Shaman Department had sealed most of her magic power. They also gave her a punishment by sending her to the Onmu Shaman Academy for 3 years. The next day, Suzuka wanted to see Natsume. Toji suggested that Harutora tell her about Natsume's situation regarding the family tradition of having to dress like a man. Harutora talked to Suzuka but didn't discuss Natsume yet. Suzuka cried because she killed Hokuto. Harutora didn't hate her and relieved Suzuka of her guilt. He told Suzuka that Hokuto was a shikigami that was controlled remotely by its user. After their conversation was over, Suzuka noticed Natsume's presence and quickly recognized her as the girl who was wearing girls' clothes last year. Natsume felt annoyed because someone else knew her identity. After finding out Natsume's true identity, Suzuka continued to prank Harutora and Natsume. She kept acting up and annoying Harutora and Natsume, but they couldn't do anything. Luckily, Suzuka had no intention of revealing the secret to everyone. Suzuka's annoyance was getting worse. She casually checked Harutora and Natsume's room. The first target was Harutora. When she first went to Harutora's room, she immediately disliked it. But she knew the fact that Harutora really liked everything about tigers. After checking Harutora's room, Suzuka turned and checked Natsume's room. But Natsume didn't want her room to be ransacked. She asked Harutora for help, but he was really stupid and didn't seem to help. Natsume was forced to summon a creature to secure her room. But for Suzuka, all of that was just a trivial obstacle. She managed to get rid of the summoned beast and burst into Natsume's room. The room looked ordinary at first until Suzuka realized there was a door protected with magic. Suzuka felt challenged to open the magic barrier. While she was trying to tamper with the magic barrier, the bound Natsume tried to move and go to her room. Harutora asked Kan to free Natsume. Once free, Natsume immediately took action to remove Suzuka from her room. She threw Kan towards Suzuka, who was fiddling with the barrier. After that, Natsume summoned the Golden Dragon and charged around there, causing damage to the building. The next day, Harutora realized that Kan was still in her physical form and couldn't change back. Tuji said it was a result of Natsume and Suzuka fighting near the door with the magic barrier yesterday. Finally, Kan, who followed Harutora to school, was forced to disguise herself by wearing Harutora's favorite tiger pattern jacket. She caused a stir in the canteen when people thought she was a tiger. The school issued a warning that a tiger had appeared and asked the shaman department to take action. Principal Mayo and Zenjiro deduced that someone sent the tiger Shikigami to attack the students. As Suzuka helped Kan to escape, Zenjiro attacked them. They managed to escape, but Harutora's jacket was destroyed. Suzuka, Kan, and Harutora were scolded by Mr. Jin when he found out what really happened. Finally, after that, Kan was able to return to her original form and remove her physical form. Harutora's entire class went to the Shikigami training camp somewhere in the mountains. Suzuka was also present at the event. Tuji asked Suzuka to work together and protect them from the Twin Horn Syndicate, who were targeting Natsume. She just listened to Tuji's requests and agreed to do so. After that, Suzuka asked Natsume if she was really the reincarnation of Yaku. Natsume herself assured her that there was still doubt in her. She told her about the Raven Coat, a magical tool that Yaku usually wore. This tool was the only way to find out whether Natsume was really his reincarnation. Mr. Jin and Principal Mio heard their conversation. Mr. Jin believed that the real Raven Coat was in the Onyu Academy. Meanwhile, the one at the shaman's agency was just replicas. He got that information from a person named Ryu Satom. The next day, Harutora and Kyuko went out. She wanted to know if Harutora really liked Suzuka. Out of nowhere, Suzuka appeared and immediately blurted out that Harutora liked Hokuto and not her. Harutora explained to Kyuko about Hokuto, who was a Shikigami. However, she was not an ordinary Shikigami, but a Shikigami controlled remotely. This led Kyuko to speculate that Hokuto's controller must be very powerful to make Hokuto appear like a real person for so long. Later, on the bus ride home, Harutora noticed a pink ribbon in Natsume's hair. He finally realized that it was the ribbon he won for Hokuto at the night fair. Because of this, Harutora believed that Hokuto's original controller was Natsume. One day, a man named Kakujuki managed to find Yuma Nishiya at his residence. Daimon wasn't too surprised that Kakujuki was able to find him. They had a conversation about what would happen in the future. Because he got no answer from Daimon, Kakujuki decided to leave. On the other hand, Harutora and Natsume were involved in an awkward tension. Harutora was sure that Natsume was Hokuto, but he didn't dare ask about it. Natsume was also worried about whether or not she would tell Harutora her secret. During practical class time, Harutora couldn't focus and pay attention to the invisibility spell and got himself entangled. Meanwhile, Natsume, who was with Tuji, wondered whether Harutora liked her or not. Tuji said that Harutora definitely liked her. Meanwhile, the Shaman Agency held a meeting about the Doma movement. At that time, Zenjiro speculated that the Shaman Academy would be attacked soon. On the other hand, Harutora and Natsume were walking together. Because they couldn't stand it anymore, they both tried to confess. But unfortunately, the senior third-year student from the other day named Suzu Sotome appeared and ruined the atmosphere. Sometime later, while in class, the children realized that Mr. Jin, their homeroom teacher, was unable to teach. The students were curious why Mr. Jin couldn't go to class. They discussed the matter until noon arrived. That was when they saw the broadcast about the shaman agency being attacked. Hermitora saw Duman around the school. It was then that Duman smiled and summoned various armored beasts to carry out the massacre. Hermitora and the others panicked as the armored spiders charged into the school. They were surrounded from all directions, making it impossible to escape. Because they had no other choice, they decided to fight. Tuji turned into a demon and beat the giant spiders that tried to get close. His other friends also put up fierce resistance. Once the road opened, they immediately ran away. There was only one way to the roof to escape. They rushed to the roof to avoid being chased by the armored spiders. While on the roof, they were all surprised to see Principal Mio creating a barrier. There was also an altar used for the Taisen Fukun ritual. Not having much time to explain, Principal Mio asked all students to immediately approach to be safe. When the students were around the altar, Duman Ashia came. To fight Daman, Natsu took out her golden dragon. Unfortunately, Duman was indeed very strong. He could drop the golden dragon and was ready to make the dragon his summoned creature. When the situation was critical, suddenly Mr. Jin appeared with a different appearance. Daman sent dozens of armored spiders towards Mr. Jin. Without moving at all, Mr. Jin could destroy all of his spiders with his scream. Daman launched a follow-up attack, but Mr. Jin immediately disappeared and appeared around Harutora and the others. With his moves, Mr. Jin removed the seal that restrained Suzuka's power. He asked Suzuka to protect her friends. After her power was released, she promised Natsu to get her golden dragon back. Mr. Jin went forward and threw some spell paper, which immediately turned into a sword. However, Doom easily repelled all of Mr. Jin. Hadn't given up yet, Mr. Jin used another spell paper to create a burst of water. But Duman also managed to avoid it. After that, Mr. Jin attacked the various elemental moves on his spell paper. However, Duman was able to avoid all the moves launched by Mr. Jin. While jumping to avoid the flames, Duman launched a dark magic attack. Mr. Jin created a protective land to withstand attacks from enemies. But because the flood was so big, Mr. Jin fell and bounced backwards. It turned out it was just a trick to get close to the dragon and free it. When the dragon was free, Natsume immediately removed her dragon. Mijin took out some spell paper and prepared to attack. Immediately, a magic dome appeared around Daman. Various elements appeared and tormented Daman. However, instead of being afraid of being tortured, Duman was enthusiastic and wanted to continue fighting. He brought out his true power. The light blast damaged and breached the dome. The energy of the explosion made Mr. Jin was injured and pushed back. After the explosion ended, Mr. Jin still managed to survive. He said that as he expected, Duman was indeed not human. According to Mr. Jin, Duman was a haunting ghost. Daman was amazed by Mr. Duman's strength. According to him, only Yaku was the only person who ever made him like that. Because of that, Duman invited Mr. Jin to join him. However, Mr. Jin rejected the offer with full respect. He launched his attacks once again, and this time from multiple directions. He released a beam of light into the air and formed a very bright dome. Daman was shocked by the powerful attack, which he was unable to dodge. After that, Mr. Jin punched Duman as hard as he could. The blow sent both of them flying from the building. However, Mr. Jin was saved by the golden dragon. Meanwhile, Duman fell heavily downwards. Unfortunately, Duman was not dead. However, Mr. Jin already knew that. Not long after that, Zenjiro appeared from a distance. He used his magic and beat Duman until he couldn't do anything anymore. Daman was successfully overthrown, while Mr. Jin was immediately rushed to the hospital. The academy building also suffered severe damage inside and out. Luckily, the raven coat that Duman wanted to steal had already been brought by Natsume. While the building was under repair, the students moved to the Meguro branch of the shaman department and were accompanied by professional shamans. Meanwhile, Harutora was curious about shamanism and what kind of science it actually was. One day, Harutora dared to invite a professional shaman to compete. During the fight, Harutora tried to imitate the moves of Mr. Jin. However, he couldn't do it well and was instead badly beaten by the professional shaman. The senior shaman said that it was still too early for Harutora to challenge him to a fight. Natsume couldn't resist commenting. She said that if professional shamans could carry out their duties properly, then the Onmu Shaman Academy students wouldn't need to flee there. Natsume asked where the professional shamans were when the shaman school was attacked. The senior shaman couldn't say anything to refute it. That night, Harutora took Natsume to go to the school building, which was still in ruins. They were curious about the altar on the roof of the building. While they were lighting a fire, they met a mysterious girl. The girl welcomed the two of them, and she introduced herself by the name Takiko Suma. Just like Natsume and Haratora, she was also studying shamanism. Takiko said that she was also a student there even though Natsume and Haratora had never seen her. Even more surprising, Takiko knew the secret of the Tsuchimikado family and the Taisen Fukun ritual. Takiko said that the academy was once founded by Yaku and was called Yaku Academy. One of his first students was the principal Mio. After that, Takiko disappeared. Haratora and Natsume told Tuji about Takiko. They thought they could uncover why the Raven Coat was kept at the Shaman Academy rather than the Shaman Department. They went to the school library and looked for lots of books. However, no information could be obtained. After that, they went to visit Mr. Jin. There Mr. Jin was with Daisen Amami, who was the leader of the Shaman Investigation Department. Suzuka knew who Mr. Jin really was. He was one of the 12 holy generals in the past who left and chose to become an investigator. So it was not surprising that Mr. Jin was very strong. After Daisen left, they asked about Takiko, but it turned out there was no student named Takiko at the Shaman Academy. They then discussed Raven Coat. The person named Ryu Sadome knew something about Raven Coat. Majin said that Ryu was indeed his classmate, but he thought wrong. The person who knew about Raven Coat was not Ryu Satome, but Suzu Satome. Haratora was surprised because the senior student who always appeared near him was also named Suzu. After that, they returned to the branch headquarters of the Department of Shamans to continue their learning. But suddenly, Rigi appeared with someone named Shaver. He said that he would be the one who would supervise the students. It turned out that many combat troops had been prepared nearby. The Twin Horn eradication operation was ready to be carried out. Everyone in both the Shaman Department and the Shaman investigators were examined one by one. Chaos occurred everywhere because many people were arrested. Some people were ready to put up resistance because they didn't want to be arrested. In a building, Yoshitaka Makara fought Atsune Harada. After carrying out mutual attacks, Yoshitaka was overthrown. After that, he seemed to be calling someone. Daisen Amami appeared and asked Harada to stop calling. Harada pocketed his cell phone. It turned out that according to Daisen's speculation, Harada was a member of the Twin Horn Syndicate. The two of them fought. Harada was surprisingly able to create two very powerful summoned spirits. This made Daisen a little depressed. Daisen managed to control the situation and was able to force Harada to stop attacking. After that, he asked what the purpose of the Twin Horn Syndicate was. Harada said that Yaku's students were divided into two camps, namely the Shaman Academy and the Twin Horns, who worshipped Yaku. Harada was surprised about why he told everything to Daisen. It turned out that it was part of Daisen's power. After that, Daisen took his turn attacking Harada. He could push Harada and even overthrow him. When Harada fell, his form suddenly changed to Takiko. Daisen was extremely surprised. Meanwhile, a professional shaman met Natsume. The shaman was named Itsu. He revealed all his quirks. He stated that he was a member of the Twin Horn Syndicate. After that, he walked away. That was when Shaver appeared and slashed Itsu mercilessly. Haratora asked why Shaver did that. He said it was because he was never invited to play by Rigi. Not long afterwards, thick smoke appeared and hit Shaver. His body was pressed against a darkness that grew stronger with time. From behind the darkness appeared many giant monsters that immediately flew here and there. An all-out battle began. Haratora and the others fought against the giant monsters that were there. They managed to defeat several monsters, but the monsters keep appearing. Finally, Shaver appeared from inside one of the monsters. He invited Haratora and the others to play with him. Natsume said that Shaver had turned into a spirit disaster. Haratora, Natsume, and the others fought Shaver, who was getting out of control. When the battle was so fierce, Natsume's true identity was finally revealed in front of her friends and other students. To protect the girl from danger, Haratora managed to utilize the power of the star sign that Natsume once gave him, realizing he could sense the type of spirits around him and how to fight them. With that ability, he went forward and beat the opponent completely. After defeating Shaver, Haratora massacred all the remaining spirits. After that, Daisen and Iwa Miyachi talked with Chairman Genji Kurahashi about Takiko Suma. They assumed that she was part of the Twin Horn Syndicate. That was when Takiko entered the room. Thus, Daisen found out that the chairman and Iwao were also working with her. Iwao said that he had to kill Daisen because he knew too much. Meanwhile, Takiko and the chairman agreed that it was time to try turning Natsume into Yaku using the Raven Coat. School activities at the Shaman Academy Onmu continued. Suzuka persuaded Kyuko to make up with Natsume and Haratora, but Kyuko was still annoyed that they were all keeping secrets from her. Haratora talked to Kyuko and then realized that she had met the girl somewhere in the past when he was little. The next day, Tsuchimikado's house was found burned to the ground. Meanwhile, Natsume's father was nowhere to be found. Events that had nothing to do with the fire were revealed. It turned out that Mary Yuge, on behalf of the Shaman Agency, came to arrest Natsume's father. Then Mr. Jin talked to the newly reincarnated Daomon. That was where he learned that the Twin Horn Syndicate had supporters in the Shaman Agency. On the other hand, Takiko finally found out the truth about Natsume, Harutora, and Toji. She also revealed her family history with Yako Tsuchimikado. Natsume asked her if she was part of the Yaku cult, but Takiko quickly denied it. She said that she was different from the Yaku cultists. Takiko then challenged Natsume to a fight because she believed that magic could be used as a means of communication beyond words. The two of them fought each other. When the battle was in full swing, Mr. Jin intervened to break up the fight. He noticed Harutora's unusual spiritual energy. Then Natsume made up with Kyuko. They also admitted that they would become rivals for Harutora's feelings. On the other hand, Principal Mayo talked to Mr. Jin about his resignation as a teacher and working behind the scenes again. Principal Mio offered to protect Natsume instead. That was when Mr. Jin noticed that Natsume was a girl. This surprised Principal Mio. Meanwhile, Chairman Genji was talking to a Shikigami who was bonded to Takiko. She claimed to be Yashimaru, one of the Imperials that Takiko could summon. Takiko entered with Chihiro and the other members. She questions whether Natsume could be their partner. After that, they became very excited when they received a package that might contain the Raven coat. Natsume reminisces about her childhood. Her father used to tell her about family traditions as soon as she entered middle school. The tradition was related to wearing men's clothing at school. With this suspicion, Natsume's togetherness with Harutora also decreased. The childhood promise they made ultimately became the only memory that lasted the most. She also expressed her efforts to get close to Harutora through Hokuto. One day, Natsume was reading a magazine and saw a photo of a girl. She was sure that the girl in the magazine was Harutora's favorite type. Therefore, she made a Shikigami that was similar to that girl, and used it as a tool to get close to Harutora. Back in the present, Harutora and Natsume went to a fireworks festival. When Natsume and Harutora were alone, he started telling her about Hokuto. Unfortunately, they were interrupted again by Takiko, who appeared suddenly. She was carrying a bird cage that looked empty. Takiko said that Harutora had been cursed since he was born. She would release the curse right then and there. The star marks on Harutora's face shone brightly. Harutora screamed in pain as the light continued to radiate out. Natsume tried to save Harutora, but Chihiro appeared and stopped her. Finally, Natsume had to get involved in a fight with Chihiro. Natsume used a golden dragon to attack Chihiro. However, Chihiro easily avoided all of the attacks. Because of this commotion, Suzuka and her other friends came there. The fight stopped for a moment when Takiko explained something. She explained her family relationship with Yaku. It turned out that from the start, Natsume was just a substitute. Harutora was a Tsuchimikado descendant of the real main family line. It could not be denied that Harutora was the true reincarnation of Yaku. Everyone was shocked to hear that fact. Meanwhile, Harutora still looked like he was in pain. Takiko lifted her birdcage there. There was a black crow filled with darkness. That was the real raven coat. Takiko took off the raven coat. She flew into the sky and then lunged at Harutora from above. A powerful explosion thundered everywhere. Meanwhile, Harutora was getting more and more in pain. Surprisingly, the energy didn't immediately calm down like what Takiko had faced. Raven Coat begins to possess Harutora. Harutora's entire body was covered in crows. He was out of control and darting in all directions. Natsume tried to chase him to stop Harutora. Other friends also chased with their respective Shikigami. Inside the crow's armor, Harutora couldn't control himself. He asked Natsume and the others to stay away because he didn't want to hurt them all. But Natsume and his friends didn't want to leave Harutora. They chased while continuing to try to restrain Harutora's body. Unfortunately, all these efforts were not successful. Harutora continued to move wildly and uncontrollably. While facing this dangerous situation, Natsume tried to learn what really happened. She decided to remove her seal completely so that Harutora's spiritual power could calm down. She was determined to rush towards Harutora, who was releasing various dangerous attacks in all directions. Receiving the attack, Natsume immediately jumped from her horse towards Harutora. Her body was hit by hundreds of uncontrollable attacks, but she managed to reach Harutora's body. Then she removed the star seal on Harutora's face. Suddenly, Ravencoat stopped. However, in the process, Natsume was seriously injured and died. Now with the remaining strength, Natsume was finally able to tell Harutora that she loved him. Harutora immediately left carrying Natsume's body. Behind him, Tuji and Suzuka followed. They met Yashimaru, who had become Takiko's Shikigami. Suzuka found out that Yashimaru was her father, who died and was resurrected. At that time, Yashimaru tried to persuade Harutora to join the Twin Horn Syndicate. He offered the Taisen Fukun ritual to revive Natsume for Harutora's consideration. When he left, suddenly the Shaman Agency appeared. They took Harutora in for questioning. Meanwhile, the others waited at the Shaman's Agency. He explained what happened to Principal Mio. Later, she had a conversation with Zenjiro. They said they would handle things. Meanwhile, Tuji and the others decided to sneak back to the shaman agency to save Harutora and at the same time, trying to take Natsume's body in case there was a chance to bring her back to life. Meanwhile, Mr. Jin found Natsume's body and apologized for not being able to save her. He summoned Duman and asked for his help in attacking the shaman agency. Tuji, Suzuka, and Kyuko went to the shaman department to find Harutora. They were waiting for Tenma, who said he wanted to come. But because they waited a long time and he didn't come, they left. Harutora talked with Chairman Genji about Yashimaru resurrecting Natsume with the Taisen Fukun ritual. Meanwhile, Daimon, who had become Shikigami in the form of a small child, went to attack the shaman department. He carried out a massacre and told of the destruction in front of the shaman department building. Not long after, the shaman Iwao appeared to face Duman. Meanwhile, Mr. Jin had entered through another path in the shaman department. At first, everything went smoothly, but he was intercepted by Rigi. The scene shifted to a moment ago, addressing how Tenma himself infiltrated the shaman department and broke the seal on Raven Coat. He was helped by a spider Shikigami, which was one of the Shikigami his mother developed. On the other side of the fight, Mr. Jin and Rigi still continue. Easily, Mr. Jin defeated Rigi. Tuji saved Harutora from Chairman Genji and Yashimaru. After that, he immediately ran away. They met Suzuka and Kyuko outside. Tenma appeared with a raven coat. Then they managed to escape from the shaman's agency without telling them that Suzu had offered help with the Taisen Fukun ritual. Harutora said he would do it. Zenjiro and Mr. Jin appeared after hearing their plan. Zenjiro planned to stop them from using forbidden magic. It was then that Kyuko managed to enter the star-reading state for the first time. With this ability, she was able to see Natsume's stars, and Natsume was seen waiting for Harutora. Harutora, Suzuka, and Tuji ran away to look for Natsume. Harutora continued his journey alone to retrieve Natsume's body. Rigi stopped him and called Shaver to fight. In the middle of the fight, Kan was almost stabbed, but Harutora rushed to protect her. This resulted in Harutora being seriously injured and almost dying. Kan decided to remove the seal on herself to access her full power. After that, she turned into an adult version of herself. At that moment, Kakujuki appeared. They fought Shaver and Rigi and saved Harutora. The three of them went to where Natsume's body was kept and met Takiko and her two Shikigami, Yashimaru and Kumomaru. After a short performance, Takiko let Harutora take Natsume's body. Harutora rushed to see Suzu. After that, they performed the Taisen Fukun ritual on the roof of the Shaman Academy. Elsewhere, Harutora's friends were anxiously waiting to hear from him. Not long after, they received an unclear phone call from Suzu. She informed them that the ritual was successful. Harutora was able to be with Natsume again. They both finally expressed their feelings for each other. Natsume seemed to be asleep. Harutora promised to see her again later. After that, he set off towards the sunrise with his two loyal followers. This is the end of Tokyo Ravens. Thank you so much for staying in this channel and watching our videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you updated with our latest contents. See you in the next video.